Hi there, and welcome to this third session of the Pause Fast Forward program. Hope things are going well. I want to start off with a question, which is that how many uninterrupted whole minutes does the average office worker get per day? So out of sort of 450 minutes, say, in a working day, how many of those are ones where there is no interruption? And the answer, you may have got closer, so you may have had a larger or small number than this, is 28 minutes. It's from some researched reference in a book by Johann Hari called Stone and Focus, which we're going to be we'll come back to a few times during today's call, and also in the future as well. So 28 uninterrupted minutes, and I want to think you'd keep that number in mind as we go through today's session. And how you can maybe do something to increase that number, because then we'll talk about the implications of what that means too. Before we do so, and we're going into the session on choosing to focus, because it is in my estimation a choice we can make. I want to still have a bit of a recap from last time. So we talked about where we're going with this overall thinking time, trying to create some time in the jar. Put the rocks in first. The rocks being the things that are most important to you, not necessarily the things that are going to take up the most amount of time. Put them into jar first. But then put the gravel in. It's good time management, but also have a think about what rocks you can take out, things that are actually not as important as you thought, which gravel can also be removed, importantly, and doesn't need to be done, whichever strategies you go for with that. And we talked about the importance of the first rock being your sort of daily think time, developing the daily thinking time habit, 2 minutes a day, 2 to 5 minutes a day, whatever you want to do that. Put that as the first rock in your drive, make sure that happens. Then during that thinking time, think about one action you can take. So plan in one action, one more rock into your diary. There's an action towards any of your goals, whether it's personal or work. Taking that one action a day really helps. That's 365 actions a year. It shows you also what you care most about. Things you take action towards tend to be the things that you're most important to you, actually, and you can filter out your goals as well on that basis. And also, very importantly, the third rock being a beacon to put in place, something that you're really looking forward to doing later in the day. It's going to be sort of just real joy to do. It's going to fill you with energy, something you're looking forward to. So make sure those are planned in every day. It's going to be a wide variety of things. So those three things, those three first rocks, T, A, B, tab. You think about an action you're going to take, plan it in, plan in a beacon as well. Really helps. So hopefully that's going well for you, and it'd be great to hear from you on how that's going. So do drop us a line if you can. Okay, let's get into today's session, which is about choosing to focus. And we need to first of all think about whose decision it is to be interrupted. And there are kind of two answers to this. The first answer is it's you, and this is probably the most helpful answer because it's something you can do something about. We can actually choose not to be interrupted. We can do it, but it is also, just to temper that a bit, there is also a bit of a kind of global issue as well, where there are things in place of social norms, etc., that mean that, and technology, etc., that is trying to interrupt you all the time as well. So there is a bit of that. So that going on, so it's not worth being too hard on yourself. And it's a bit like if you look at sort of obesity throughout the world, the average I think American is now 1.5 stone heavier than they were back in 1960. Again, referencing some research in Johann Hari's book, and that's a huge amount. If you think about overall weight, that's a huge amount of extra weight that's being carried. And the countries that are doing best with in terms of not obesity not becoming such a big issue tend to be the ones where they have things on a society basis where they have to make the good food cheaper, they make junk food more expensive, they ban appetizing kids, they make cities and towns easier to walk around cycling. There's countries like sort of Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, etc. There are other ones as well, but they tend to be the ones that are most successful at that because they deal with it at a society level. And some of the interruptions that we're talking about, the stolen focus that we have, is kind of more of a global thing. So, but the thing is, if you wait for that to happen, it's probably going to be too late. So you're better off focusing on what you yourself can do to reduce interruptions. And one of the things I want to ask you again in terms of a question is how much less efficient do you think you are when you work with your emails and phones on? This is a bit of a generalization, but again, some research that's done that's referenced in Johann Hari's book actually shows that we are 20 to 30% less efficient when we are working with those interruptions on. That is the equivalent of being mildly drunk, which obviously people do get 5 for. So we're happy to do it because it's just interruptions. We'll work in that way, but 20, 30% less effective is quite a large number. And some of that is because we think that by having all these interruptions, we can deal with them. We think we can multitask. And as someone once said, multitasking is messing everything up at the same time. There's actually a quote or adaptation quote by Jeremy Clarkson. So you can imagine that at least one of those words was slightly different, which I've had to alter for the purpose of politeness on this call. But it's worth thinking about that. That 20-30% is happening there when people work with their phones and emails switched on. And it's not the end of the bad news. If you do work in such a way where your focus is being stolen, you also have 4 other things that are going on. You're getting this information overload, fire hose information. So there's so much going in, you can't possibly absorb it in the depth that you would like to. You're also not getting into a creative flow state, or when you are getting in a creative flow state, you're being interrupted and coming out of that creative flow state where you're doing your best work. So that's really a major disadvantage of being distracted all the time. We're also shrinking our cognitive bandwidth, what we can take in. We're having to simplify it in order to be able to absorb it, the more things that are there. So that's not again, it comes down to the depth thing as well. We're not able to take in more complex information. And also, the more we do of it, our brain's bouncer becomes less effective at filtering out distractions. So it becomes sort of perpetual sort of self-fulfilling, and it gets worse and worse the more we do it. So really the antidote to that is to try and restore your focus, try and restore more thinking time, which is obviously a lot about what this course is about. So that's kind of the bad news. So some thoughts about what you can actually do about it next. That's what I want your outputs from today to be. So the first thing is, can you kind of delete or silence apps? There'll be lots of apps on your phone. Some of them will be redundant. You can just delete them off there, particularly the ones that ping up once in a while, or at least go on there and silence apps. So they're not, so you choose when you want to go on there, so you're not being interrupted on those calls. The second thing is also, can you also, so in terms of filtering stuff out, can you actually maybe put your phone, have a sort of 10-minute rule that whenever you want to access your phone, you challenge yourself to say, I'm not going to look at it for at least 10 minutes after you thought you want to. A bit of an extreme version, so you can get these sort of lockers where you put your phone in that are on a 10-minute delay, which obviously can cause some inconvenience if you want to make a quick call, etc. So that's something you can do, but challenging yourself to say, look, I'll go look at my phone 10 minutes after I've thought I want to look at it to catch up on what's going on can be a really good thing. Also working with your emails offline. As you may have heard, a little ping on my video there with an email coming up. So I'm not necessarily doing everything myself, but working with your emails offline is a real sort of challenge, and it's a good thing to do. You can, and generally speaking, if you challenge yourself to work with your emails offline, you can get down to a point where you only look at your emails or get your emails to download 2 or 3 times a day for most people. That may seem like a long way off you, but that is a journey that people can take. And working with your emails offline means you're not being distracted as emails come in. You can also turn your phone off at certain points when you want to, particularly when you want to get into a flow state, you want to really concentrate on something, work with your phone off the hook in the old days, or turn them off, with the mobile phones, and be more proactive about that. Tell people you're doing so, tell people what to do if they need to get hold of you still. Some people like to keep their phone on for emergencies, but you can obviously get around that too by informing people. Working from different locations is a really powerful way of getting into and protecting flow states. During lockdown, we were able to we had to sort of work from home more. For some, that was cause more distractions, some less distractions, but we're now more comfortable working from different locations and taking advantage of that, so you can really focus on something that's getting some flow where you're not going to be interrupted. You can really get into that focus flow state is really, really powerful. So please, think about how you can take advantage of that. And you can also create sort of symbols if you're working in an open plan office, where you say when that red flag's in place, or that wearing that hat, or I've got my headphones on, that means I'm really don't want to be disturbed. I'm working on something important. Please don't interrupt me. I may well be in a kind of flow state working on something really important. So you can kind of over time train your colleagues that when that's in place, please not disturb you. Just be patient with people. Isn't the first time you say it, might not be the last time you have to say it, like with that strategy. And then the final thing is, which is what we've been talking about on the previous session, is plan your day better. have some thinking time to plan in some action, plan beacons, etc. But planning your day better, particularly the sort of start of the day, allows you to focus more and allows you to filter out some of those distractions too. So think about which things you can do to do that. Quick update on the vegetable side of things. I know people want to also, well, a few people, not necessarily everyone, but wants to have a quick look at that. So the potatoes, as mentioned in the first session, they've nicely chitted now, good growth on them. They've now been dug into the ground, put in the ground, and the soil's been turned over the top of them. So they're there in the patch. The parsnips are growing. There's some beetroot growing as well, and there's also rocket cabbages and even mange tous just being put into the ground now, ready to start sprouting. So lots of progress there, which we'll come back to again later on. Anyway, sorry about that, but it's useful just to have something flowing through these courses too. So hopefully you enjoy those updates too. Anyway, thanks for taking part in this session and listening to it. I hope that's been useful. Do subscribe or share it with friends if you found it useful. And I'll be releasing another video in a couple of weeks on, again, thinking about more unstructured thinking time, and are you making the most of that too? So hopefully see you then. Bye for now.